So, good afternoon. My name is Sébastien Stolitzner. I am the CEO and founder of GenSearch. And on behalf of the team, I would like to say how happy I am to welcome you to our third Life Science Talks. We are an executive search firm. We do executive search and talent management. First thing is to share with our network the amazing amount of information we have access to. Second thing is to provide a platform where all of you can openly share and interact spontaneously. Third thing is to learn again and again and understand all the complexities of the healthcare sector to better serve the organizations and the people we accompany. And at last, at our level, to be a player of the healthcare market involved in its transformation, because at the moment, it's all about people. And people are at the heart of our services.
So I'm very pleased and feel very honored, to be back with you. And again, thank you so much to both of you. As you know, the healthcare system is really changing on a daily basis, which is really determining how the majority of the life sciences company in general are trying to position and partner with these changes. Within this landscape, I think that one of the key aspects that we'd like to discuss in depth today is the role changing or the changing role of the different stakeholders. And we are really seeing, payers very much on top of some of the key reimbursement decisions that will impact in key changes on the operational side at the provider and at the healthcare system level. And also we see patients and patient associations and patient advocacies every day much more involved in not only making decisions at the individual basis, but as a group. And obviously all of that facilitated by a bunch of initiatives, the majority of them technology-driven, that will connect the different agents much faster.
Despite the silos that many of us sit in, patients have lives. If you just think beyond for a second, beyond healthcare, and think about an organization that you admire, that you respect and you like to use. Be that a retailer, be that a consumer goods, be that a service organization. And just consider for a moment why you like and admire that organization. Why do you come back? What do you get from it? And why do you use it? Okay? Because fundamentally, the point I think around healthcare is that we don't operate like that at all. And if we did, we could actually alleviate an awful lot of the issues that we're facing. If you add the latest IDF, International Diabetes Federation Atlas, predicts that there will be over 1 billion people with diabetes or impaired glucose tolerance in the next 20 years. And those numbers are only going one way. This is not a game. This is going to bust the health economy if we don't do something about it. And the crazy thing is, the vast majority of it is avoidable. And we know that.
The first point I wanted to make on this slide is on the term value. This is where we see a big transformation. The value traditionally for pharmaceutical company was really related to the data that was obtained in randomized clinical trials for regulatory purposes. The value now is moving toward value in real life, in real world, after the product is on the market. Now the question is, who holds the key? Well, I would say the first answer is who holds the key are those actors that are going to be able to deliver value, in this sense, so value in real life to the system. We see that world totally changing toward this outcome-based world, and we see the role of pharma to facilitate that. It's not going to be one single actor owning it, but we have to play well in the ecosystem so that we make it work for our customers, but also for our products. And in terms of the question about who holds the key, we don't know that, but what we think is going to be important, yes, drug innovation remains of interest, obviously. However, we have to work with partners. We can't do it by ourselves. We have to work with the broader ecosystem. So we need innovation like every other industry. So if we go with services or with drugs combined with services and are able to provide packages that make a difference for patients and payers.
What's the context in France? I won't, go into regulation regarding this issue, but networks have started to develop about 10 years ago, first on vision care. So vision centers networks exist in the US, but they're just one little piece of the whole network strategy. Vision care networks, and then around them also audio, hearing aid networks, which is just, one component. So in the French system, there's no stick, no carrots on those kind of programs. It's not because we developed those programs that the insurance cost of the programs is less expensive. It's actually free to all the population involved in the program. But what actually makes people involved, and maybe it's just the psychology of teachers, is not whether they get money against it. It's more whether you create proximity. So they actually, the fact that within 5 months we have already 6,000 people moving to the platform, they go because they receive communication, because their community of teachers talk about it and promote it.
I think the most important person in our discussion, which is the patient. One thing which fascinated me when I started in health insurance is that if you look at any industry, usually you have a supplier of a product or a service, you have a customer, usually the customer pays. In healthcare, you have a third party, which is called a payer. It's fascinating. So you have a customer, patient, you have a provider, pharma, hospital, whatever, and there's a third party which actually pays the bill. That's very unique. I don't think there's any other industry where you find that. And if you think, probably a lot of the inefficiencies that we're looking come from the fact that there are three parties involved. And to be frank, I love what you said earlier, John. We all work in silos. We don't really speak to each other. And at the end of the day, if you think of how you can create the value, I think we need to discuss. Because if we don't, it's going to be hard to understand where are the problems, where are the pain points, where are all the issues. Prevention, of course, is also fascinating to see how much, as an insurance company, we make lots of comparisons. It's fascinating to see how much in healthcare we pay money to repair the car instead of making sure that the accident doesn't happen. In the car industry and in car insurance, what we do is make sure that people don't get accidents. And if you look at the statistics, it's amazing how progress came. In healthcare, we're still repairing damaged bodies instead of making sure that they are not damaged.
Previously, our market, we were basically working with only one part of this puzzle. We were basically working with a biologist. And this is the tremendous change that we've had in the past, is now we have to treat with patients directly. Because when you think about it, when you go to a lab, you just give your sample, they take your blood, and you don't know what's going behind those walls. The IVD, which is the way we call it, in vitro diagnostic world, accounts for 60 to 70% of the medical decisions. But it only makes 2 to 3% of the healthcare expenditure. This is the first time when we understand that we need to bring some medical value, otherwise we'll be commoditized, as we said before. So we created departments that we didn't have before, like medical affairs department. We now have a CMO. We never had a CMO because we're dealing with biologists. Now we're bringing tests that does not exist or didn't exist before. So the role of this medical affairs department is not only to assist our clients by providing the necessary studies that I think you mentioned, because we needed obviously to get the CE mark or the FDA approval or whatever, but now we need to show that value to the patient and to the physician and to the payers. Otherwise, they will not use it. So we don't speak about diagnostic tests, we speak about diagnostic solutions. Those solutions requires a knowledge of the disease management, which we were not able to have before, and this has to be obviously reinforced. We need to prove that. It's not that we just say it, we need to prove it, and you need to prove it with data and real data And this is what we're trying to start to do. But it's not easy to have that kind of data where you have medical value, but you also have health economic outcomes. And then you need to work in order to get your tests reimbursed. And this is before we were not discussing about market access. The tests were there, you just made the tests, and you hoped that they were being reimbursed. Now you have to go to the payers, once again, or to the systems and tell them, you see this product is great. But it's not great because it has a good sensitive value, it's because it gives you something which is going to make you pay less.
It's not about selling more and more drugs. It's about delivering the right value. I mean, this is where the payer system is evolving, and I think that's well integrated now. It really requires a bold approach. I mean, it really requires, if we want to win, to get the transparency about where the value actually does come from. It requires to move the boundaries, to change, to try new things, and that's going to require a lot of courage. And then a lot of experimentation has to go on, and the market has to be transparent enough so that those solutions that win are those that really add value. Because, I think for society, for all of us, we need to get there.
The most interesting stuff was coming from the developing world and coming from the use of technology, because actually there's a need for, and the step change in innovation is phenomenal. And that's not going to happen, frankly, in Paris or London or New York, would be my view. The simplest thing right at the beginning, actually, is the shift in power base and the adage of information is power. The shift is about information and making it available. That will change the ability of people to influence their decision making. So people will be able to enable themselves to make decisions and make choice. And that choice will be based on the values that they hold and what they want as an outcome. And the challenge, actually, is how you influence those, because at the moment, systems don't do it. If we ever get to outcome-based care and real-world economics, these are terms, right? But if we ever got to that, then there would be genuine alignment.
Maybe the first good sign is that I was allowed to be here today. Basically, your customers, your patients are my customers. Your customers are my customers. My patients are your customers. We're talking about the same people. You have an interest in doing disease management programs around your medication. I have an interest in building disease management program around my product. It's for the same people. So we try to fight, but we have the same interest.
Partnering is the solution. The healthcare market is out there. We have a lot to do. We're all in the same boat, and we need to work together basically to make it happen. And if we do it, I think we will be in a win-win scenario.
Exactly.
Breaking the silos, and I think this kind of event is obviously a good occasion. I repeat, we are in the same boat, and we are serving the same purpose. I think data will be critical, because a lot of the things that are not done well is because of lack of data. France is not a good example because we are so constrained. But if you think of the lovely things that we've been able to do in other countries, most of it is because we do have access to data. And I think it's overall probably still underinvested in many parts of the industry.
Nobody really owns the key on their own, not even the payers at this point, I think. Again, data is a transversal element through IT, and the IT is another topic for another session. But again, I mean, the key work is partnership and collaboration.
There is the solution, because everyone has a part of a key.